For this week's tutorial, we are going grungy and gory, so if sugar guts aren't your thing, maybe this isn't the tutorial for you. You will have to bear with me, this was filmed last year for a zombie themed photoshoot, which got put on hold due to COVID. The shoot finally went ahead, and now I've come round to edit, I seem to have lost a little bit of footage and forgotten specific sizes. But here I've got two old polystyrene cake dummies, roughly 6-inch round, that I'm recycling, but all this can be done in real cake. I'm just using a little bit of chocolate to stick it to my board and again to stick the tiers together. These dummies are from two different companies, so there is a slight discrepancy in width, and I've seen better days. Take a cake drum the same size as your top tier, in our case it's 5-inch, and mark around it. I'm then using my knife to carve a flat panel at the back, not going past the drawing for the top tier. It's not often I'll tell you to get your hoover out for a cake, but it's great for sucking up all that flyaway polystyrene. To even out the size difference, which will be really noticeable with paste on, I'm just using ganache to fill in the gaps and holes. I've just got a long metal ruler which I'm using as a scraper to level it all out. I'm then sticking on my 5-inch top tier, lining it up with that flat panel. Now we are pretty much straight on the sides, we're going to coat that flat panel with Trex, which is just veg fat. Stick on a thin piece of pink sugar paste, trim it to size and mark in line details with a Dresden tool. Coat the rest of the cake in veg fat too. If this was a real cake, you'd just need water. As this was for a zombie themed shoot and the inspiration board had a lot of green on it, I decided to make a zombie skin rough texture for the outside. I placed this white rolled out paste in the oven for a few minutes, and as it cooled down it set in these hard pieces. Just break them up into chunks and push them into your soft base paste. Roll it flat just a little so it's still thick, and torch all the surface with a mini torch. Everything I use will be linked in the description box below. What you're doing here is similar to drying it in the oven, but you're only applying it to the surface. You're drying out the top layer of paste, yet the underneath will still be soft and pliable. I've got here some white dust mixed with green luster dust and water, and I'm just painting this all over the surface. You can see the underneath paste is still pliable, and as I pull the top it forms cracks. This is the top set layer cracking open. Apply icing sugar to the top, trying not to roll it out if it's still too wet, and gently push the soft paste, leaving lots of cracked texture on the surface. Roll your paste up into a sausage and unroll it around the entire bottom tier, sticking it to the Trex. Mine doesn't quite reach all the way around, but we're going to fix that later. Just push together any holes in the paste. Round the back, where it meets your flat panel, rip a jagged edge where the skin is broken open. You can also use your flexi smoothers to mark in sharp edges and apply the paste a bit more evenly. If your cake doesn't have as much texture as you want, you can even use a mat. I've got this lizard skin texture which you can just press into any empty areas. I'm going to be adding an extra piece to fill in the gaps, so I'm tearing my edge so it blends easier. You can see roughly where the paste is underneath. I'm cutting around it with a scalpel and merging the joins together. Luckily, this is zombie skin, so we can get away with lots of joins and pleats, and it just adds to the overall look. You can either panel your top tier or drop it over like I've done, just cutting out some of the more difficult pleats. Here I've got some of my reject white chocolate skulls. This white one was just a tester which has been dropped a few times, and this teal one you can see came out without a cheekbone, but they're going to work out perfectly for this type of cake. I made the mould for these myself and will eventually be selling chocolate skulls in my shop when I get round to it. I'm using my favourite Phase Dust in Regency Gold, and I've also got some green powder. You just mix up your gold paint with lemon extract and put it straight on with a large brush. You can see just how different the gold powder looks on a different base colour. I really love that muted gold that it creates on the teal skull, and I don't mind them being two different colours. Then I'm going in with a dry brush and my green powder to moss them up a little bit. To seal the colour in and to stop it from transferring onto your hands, you can set them with a glaze spray. Now here's where I lost my footage, which is super annoying, but you have seen me do this lots anyway. I airbrushed the cake in a dark green colour, sprayed the whole thing with water so that the colour runs into all the cracks we have made, and then I dabbed the excess moisture off with a kitchen roll. That's it. I know it seems like a big step to miss, but I really have done this method lots, and I'll leave tutorials that show it in the description box. Once that's done, I've covered the board in white paste using the toilet seat method, textured it with my favourite tin foil, and coated it in the same gold as the skulls, adding in the green dust for moss. I'm now applying the skulls to the top, sticking them in place with ganache. To finish it off, I picked up these artificial wildflower sprays. They look very weed-like, and they're muted colours and look exactly like something you'd see growing in a zombie apocalypse. You can lay them on however you like. You can run a spray up the front, or add one on one side and one on the other, which is how I decided to do it. The great thing about dummies is that you can just shove them straight in. Here I've bent the bottom wire at an angle so I can push it into the cake sideways and have them stand up. This branch needs a little help, so I'm cutting a very small piece of green wire, bending it into a loop and using that to pin that random branch up straight. I also added these artificial flowers, which I picked out because the edges of the petals look like they've been splattered with blood and dried. Again, I'm just shoving them straight in, and now you can see why I prefer these over sugar ones, because you see me manhandle and squash them a lot. Now for the hidden back, which certainly creates a wow factor contrast against the front. Well, you can't have zombies without their guts, so I'm just adding on pink sausages all squashed up and trailing on the board, and various inner organs. Feel free to make yours anatomically correct. I just used pictures from the internet for a rough guide. I've just stuck them down with water. One of my favourite things to do is to make edible blood. I'm just tipping some of this runny piping gel into a bowl and adding a few drops of red airbrush colour. Although this might look good enough, it's far too bright to be blood and looks more like strawberry puree. You just want to add a few drops of black. Now, I know this looks really dark, but trust me, when you paint it on, you'll see that it's much more blood-like. You just want to paint this on all of your organs, getting right in there and leaving some of the deeper areas filled with blood so it will run out and create darker pools. And we're done! I know this type of cake isn't to everybody's taste, but it actually turned out perfect for the shoot that it was designed for. I do have a few teaser pictures which I'll leave at the end of the video, and I'll also leave the full list of suppliers who were also involved. As gory and disgusting as it looks, it still is only sugar, and it'd make a great centerpiece for any horror themed wedding or Halloween party. Hope you enjoyed this one, even if it was a little different, and I'll see you again next week. Bye guys.